Welcome back to our 79th episode of the Launcher Farm Show, where I interview Zac Shull from ConnectMe. In this episode, Zac and I talk about why agents can't rely on generic and boring content marketing anymore if they want to see results in their farm. And Zac shares how agents can repurpose content, namely video content, to create a variety of other types of marketing pieces to capture a lot more attention in their farm. And we talk about what type of content gets results and how to create the right type of content for your audience. And Zac shares a super easy way to create content that ties into your other marketing strategies so you don't have to keep recreating the wheel. And we talk about how being genuine and authentic in your content marketing can pay off huge. Plus, we talk about a ton of other ideas that you can use to grow your geographic farm. So be sure to check out this episode, like and subscribe, and enjoy the episode with Zac. Welcome back to another episode of the Launcher Farm Show. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and today we've got a great guest. It's Zac Shull. He's the founder of ConnectMe. So Zac, take a second, tell us a bit about yourself and why you're here.
Sure. Well, first of all, Ryan, I really appreciate you having me on. We kind of worked on other projects and stuff together, so it's nice to be on here. And my name is Zac Shull. I'm the founder of ConnectMe. I live and grew up in Philadelphia, and we do a lot of content marketing at ConnectMe. We help edit your videos, help you with a podcast, YouTube page. Running ads is great, but it's getting more expensive and I feel less effective. And I feel like content marketing is really the way to get people to know, like, and trust you through video and, providing value through free content. And I'm very passionate about that. So that's kind of where I'm coming from and what we do.
Awesome.
Oh, and also I just launched my own podcast, which I love to have you on. It's called Coaches and Content. It's more for like coaches and leaders, but I think anyone would enjoy it. We just teach you how to get clients through content. I've interviewed people about meditation, LinkedIn, running Facebook ads. So you'll get like a variety of all different types of stuff on there.
Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes, and at the end, we'll do a plug as well, so you can share a bit more about that as well. So yeah, we want to dive in today about content creation, because I think it's an important part of really any real estate business, but specifically geographic farming, where we want to become that expert. We want to become known as that person in the community that knows the area that we're selling. And one of the best ways to do that is through content marketing. And a lot of agents I find struggle with trying to create just real estate content or just talking about themselves. And when you can learn to really kind of embrace all of the stuff that's going on in the community, whether it's real estate, whether it's community related, whether it's national stuff, international or hyper local stuff, content really makes a difference on having you stand out. So before we dive into that though, I want to share kind of who you are and how you got to where you're at. So what got you into content marketing and how did you kind of get to where you are today?
Sure. Well, the other thing is I like having this conversation with you because who knows more about the power of content than you with your podcast, so to talk to someone who gets it makes it a lot easier. So my background is, I used to be a DJ and a hip hop producer. So I've always had like a background in, I guess, media and content creation.
Yep.
In college, I started interviewing rappers and actors for a website. So I've interviewed, a lot of them are over the phone, some are in person, but I've interviewed Jake Gyllenhaal, a lot of legendary rappers, Ice-T. So I've kind of always been a content creator.
Yep.
And I like content. I like media. So then fast forward after college, I found out that there were actual social media marketing agencies. And not to date myself, this was about 10 years ago, like 2011, 2012. So that's I kind of fell into that, the social media side. And, social media used to be way different. You could post like a stocked image and get like 100 views or 100 likes. Like so
I miss those days.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's so different now. So I've kind of just grown with where content has gone. And a couple years ago, off and on, I've always had my own company, but a couple years ago, I really started ConnectMe. So after college, I moved home. I worked for a mortgage company, and I met a lot of realtors. I just started working with realtors. I worked with a lot of real estate coaches. I like working with realtors. They're always characters. They're independent. They don't always do what you tell them to do. But
yeah, that is very true. Yeah.
Yeah. But they're always, they're usually great people. They have to deal with people. They have to be a certain realtors are a certain type of people. So, I just do, work with realtors, and we help them. We coach them on what types of videos to create. We can edit the videos for them. Some people like editing themselves, like with TikTok and stuff today, it's a lot easier to edit
Yep.
your own videos. It's amazing where we've come from. Even a couple years ago, it was all about the green screen
Yep.
and the graphics and everything being overproduced. And I see your dog there. It's cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's come along, the landscape has changed. TikTok's really changed everything. But the other type of content that's great is podcasts like this, having a YouTube channel. And I think you touched on a great point of, you can't just make stuff about real estate because, most people aren't going to watch it or they don't care. So that's why it's super important about the type of content that you make. If we're talking local agent, you might want to go to a local restaurant, local barbershop, whatever. And, just say, hey, I was at this restaurant. It was great. You meet the owner, you get to network with them. They know people, you post it on social media, you tag them, they share it. So yeah, content creation is super important in this day and age.
Yeah. And like you said, you can't just do the basics like you used to be able to do. I know when I got started in real estate, I've been 14 years in the business. You used to be able to do a simple thing. You'd post an inspirational quote and you'd get all this attention from it. You could join a Facebook group and every post you posted would be seen and liked. And you have to really adapt and evolve. And I find that some agents may have tried it in the past and didn't like it, or may haven't tried it in the past and think it's as easy as they think. And the reality is the key to good content, which is creating content that actually resonates with people, that adds value to people, and is going to keep people engaged. And just a simple picture, a stock image isn't going to do anything. Just a post about what you had for lunch isn't going to be enough. And this is where I think with farming, it's so impactful because we can tailor our message to who we're trying to serve, which is that community that we're going after. And we can do that in so many different ways. And that's the great thing about it, is if you're just being real estate focused, there's only so many topics you can talk about. There's only so many things you can post about. But when you're embracing the community and becoming that ambassador, the sky's the limit. And there's so much value you can bring to the table, as long as you're willing to do that and maybe step outside of your comfort zone and do things that you may have never done before.
Yeah, that's a big thing too, is you put yourself out there, like it doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be overproduced. Actually, like studies and reports show that the underproduced stuff does better.
Yep.
And I think it's just because we're inundated with ads and all this, shiny stuff and corporate looking things, and people we're overwhelmed and overstimulated. You really just have to get to the point of it and just get to the meat of what it is,
Yeah, exactly. And you have to find what people are going to want and connect with. And again, I've seen a lot of agents, I'm sure you've seen it too, where a lot of agents think they've got an idea of what they think the consumer wants, or they think they got an idea of this funny thing, or they're at a party and they talk about this thing, or like, oh, this would be a great idea. And it's like, it doesn't actually fly. And then there's certain things where like something takes off. You're like, how the heck did that take off? Just because certain things resonate with people and certain topics and content does well. Now there's certain things is you can kind of count on, if you do it consistently, will give you the results. But sometimes you have those weird wild cards that you never knew was going to take off. And that's a great topic that people resonate with.
Yeah, I think the big lesson there is you never know until you try. So kind of have to, I think content creation is for certain people, because certain people, if you don't like doing it, it's not going to work. You're not going to look good in camera. So I think that's part of it too, is you have to be excited about it. Make it simple for yourself. If you're out at a listing, just do a quick story. It doesn't have to be, like I said, it's better to have something than nothing. It doesn't have to be overproduced and all that. Yeah.
So that's perfect segue into what I want to ask, is getting started in content creation. If you've never done it, if agents are going like, hey, I'm trying to create some type of plan, maybe I've never even touched Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or anything like that, what would be a good place for agents to kind of get started to test the waters and see if it would be a good fit for them?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's first you have to figure out like who you are and what your image or your brand is. And because you're conveying yourself to the world. So if you're not authentic, people will know, like if you're not a dancer, don't even try to make a dancing video on TikTok, if you are, and just think about what your hobbies and your interests are, because that'll help you, you want to attract like-minded people. So I think first you have to think about who you are, what you stand for, who your niche is, that's important too, what your clientele is, because if your clientele is mainly women, you might not want to make stuff that guys would resonate with. So before you do anything else, you really got to figure out yourself and your brand. And then after that, then you can kind of start thinking about what to do. It depends how much you want to jump into it. Like I've helped them come up with a spreadsheet with content and ideas. stuff they should film, stuff they want to do.
Yep.
So that's part of it too. And I think the biggest thing is just start. Like that's the biggest thing. You just have to start. And the average person doesn't like looking at themselves or hearing themselves talk.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you have to look. You have to look at your video and make sure it's good.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing too. Is you kind of have to, not to be blunt, but kind of get over yourself and just get out of your shell.
Yep.
But I promise you, it works if you're consistent with it, because I see it happen all the time. The more videos you put out there, the more top of mind you are with people.
Yep.
So, your neighbor Sally, she might see your video today, but she's not ready to buy a house for another couple months. But as she gets closer to buying or selling her house, you're putting out content. She remembers, oh, hey, Ryan's a realtor. I see his videos all the time. Let me contact him. So, I think it's like a progression of like, figuring out who you are, figuring out what type of content you want to make, and then just do it. And, TikTok has really changed the landscape, the point and shoot stuff. It just makes it super easy. You can just start with your cell phone.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what you said is true. Is like you just have to start, because a lot of people get hung up on the nerves. They're terrified that how they're going to look silly. And a friend of mine, Michael Kriese, who's actually on the show as well, and he talked about using video, and he said, if you're going to be you, just be you. And he said, people are going to like you or they're not going to like you. And wouldn't you rather get that over and done with a video? And it's like, if they don't like you, they're not going to call you anyways, versus maybe they don't know who you are. And then you show up in person. They're like, oh, I don't like this person. So he said, you can eliminate a lot of people and attract the right people, but you have to get started. And to your point is you may not be perfect at the beginning. It's going to evolve. And I know for myself, I look back at my first video I did 12 years ago, something like that. And it's a joke what I did and how uncomfortable I was, but you have to kind of push through that. And it's easy to say to do, but yeah, you just have to take that leap and trust in the process, because it does work, but you got to be willing to get uncomfortable.
I would love to see your video. I mean, 12 years ago, that's super ahead of the curve. So I'm curious, what did you make your early videos about?
So I did with my mortgage broker, and we did, it was called the real estate drive-through, and we had a shtick. It was answering your real estate questions in under 3 minutes, or it's free. So we did the kind of like a fast food type thing where it was just quick paced, fast answer. We'd answer questions. So we did a kind of series of questions, and we got started, and we had a crappy camera, but then our mic was okay. Then we switched to a better camera, but then our mic sucked. And then it was just messing around, but then we kind of got better at it and got better. And we still get views on our videos that we haven't put out in years. And we still go back once in a while, like, oh man, look at that. And we have 1,400 views on one of our videos. So it was, for us, it was just trying to provide value right up front. We worked together, and I found that worked well for both of us, because we were able to kind of bounce ideas off each other and have conversations. And then that led into a whole bunch of other stuff that I've done. So you have to be willing to put yourself out there and just start. And yeah, like it's not going to be as good as your first one. If you look at the YouTube people that are like massive YouTube stars, if you look at their first videos, they're not even close to what they do. It's an evolution, and it's a thing that you have to just build off of and just get comfortable with.
Yeah, I think that's why you really have to kind of look at it as like a journey, and it's something you, like anything else, you'll get better at it, and it becomes more fun. The better you get at it, the more you figure it out. And the other thing that you mentioned too is like that your video from 10 years ago might have like 1,500 views now. So video is what's called evergreen, where it's like it's on YouTube, it's on your website, it's there forever. So once you're farming, which I'm sure we'll get into, but you're farming and then people find out about you, then they check out your content, they might watch every single video you have. So that's the thing too, is, video lasts forever. So once you make content, somebody might watch it years from now, who knows? I bet you've gotten clients from that video.
Yeah. And exactly like I said, you don't know who's going to find it, or sometimes someone may share it. And you may have, I've had videos that I've done for my old podcast and show that I used to do, and I'm still getting tons of views on those, and people are still finding me because of search engine optimization, because of just that's the topic someone was looking for. They found it on some other website and things like that. And that's where, like you said, that evergreen content is so powerful that it creates a story for you that stays there, and people can find it, and then people can connect with you. Now, the key is to continually do that. And this is where I've seen a lot of agents where they'll create some good content. They may hire a video producer or something, and they make a great video, and then that's it. They make one video or two videos, and then they stop. And I'm sure you'd agree that it's better to create good content consistently than one great content or one great piece and then stay there.
Yeah, I tend to tell people you should try to work it into your schedule, where maybe you dedicate 1 hour a week to recording videos. Like, it really doesn't have to be that complicated or that crazy. if you can dedicate every Monday 11 to 12 p.m. on making videos, it makes it a lot easier. And really, like, the better you get, you could easily do 2 or 3 videos in an hour. I mean, depending on what you're doing.
Yep.
So yeah, for sure.
So then I want to kind of switch gears and dive into then creating content specifically for your farm and for your community. What have you seen that has done well with creating content, whether it is video, whether it's digital content or whatever? What are you seeing agents do well with when it comes to hyper local content?
Sure. Yeah. So like anything else, it's all about providing value and giving and then not taking. And
yeah,
I think that the best things are, you want to make, like you said, you can't make everything about real estate, but you definitely have to do some. But if you're going to make it about real estate, make it something educational. So I think a mix of like, tips for if you're about to sell your house, tips if you're going to buy a house, make tips like that, and make the videos short, 45 seconds. They don't have to be long. I mean, it depends if you're doing it for YouTube or social media.
Yep.
So I would say that for sure, educating people on the process and how it works. The other big thing too is, and this is like killing 2 birds with 1 stone, because you're making content and you're networking with the community, is to go to local restaurants, whatever, local events, and film videos there. Because you're networking with business owners, and then you post the content, they share it. So, you're meeting people, you're reaching their audience. And then, one person leads to another. So you could say, hey, you might go to a pizza shop and say, hey, I'm trying to do videos for restaurants. Do you have a friend? And you know how industries work. Usually people know each other, or they have other industries. So, I would say community videos for sure, educational videos. And I like how you mentioned shtick earlier. So, I'm a huge wrestling fan, like WWE, and everyone has a gimmick, every guy has their own shtick and gimmick. So I think that rather than just being like, hey, I'm a local agent, if you have some type of shtick or gimmick, that will really take you to the next level and help you brand yourself. So, like you mentioned, you had your fast food drive-through video. So, you could come up with themes like that. Like, you really just have to make it, well, the 3 E's: educational, entertaining, and engaging. So you really want your videos to kind of fall under those categories.
Yeah, exactly. And I also find too that you may have to experiment and try different things. You may have an idea, like I said, that you think is great, and that doesn't go off, it doesn't take off, and you may have to evolve and adapt. And for our videos, they worked okay at the beginning, but then we evolved over time and changed things. And you have to figure out what you're going to be comfortable with, but also that your audience, who you're trying to reach, is going to enjoy and appreciate. And I like that the 3 E's, because that really resonates. And when you create content, keeping that in mind will then help you go, okay, if I'm going to create this piece, regardless of what it is it educational, is it entertaining, and is it engaging? That helps you then go, okay, maybe I need to change something. Maybe it's not as entertaining as I need to be, or maybe it's not as educational. And I find that a lot of agents come from, especially when it comes to farming, they come from a boasting background where they try to talk about how great they are, or how many homes they've sold, or they're just advertising at just listed, just sold. And the reality is most people don't care about that. And if you're trying to build your audience and try to build your database, you got to create content that people will care about. And this is why I preach something I talk about all the time that I created, is called CPRs: community, positioning, and relationships. And that's really what the fundamentals of farming is. The positioning part is so important, that you position yourself, and I teach it all the time, is it's positioning as the expert and the ambassador. And you have to showcase that you are an expert. It doesn't have to be real estate specific. It could be, like you said, you're in the community, you're checking out restaurants, you're checking out things that are happening. You could be educating people on laws and changes that are happening in the area, or maybe there's hot topics that are coming up that people need to know about. And then by being that ambassador, you're showing the community that, hey, I'm not just looking out for a transaction. I'm here to help you guys. I'm here to create value for that community. And content can absolutely help you do that. And don't even have to have even sold a home before. I've seen so many agents who create good content to get started. And it's like they're brand new agents, and you would never know, because they're good at content and they're good at positioning themselves. And that's where content can really help that elevate that expertise level and that ambassador level, by creating valuable content that people will resonate with.
Yeah, I think, and using the strategy we're talking about really forces you to become like known in the community and network with the community, and that's what everyone talks about doing. And video, having your own videos and your own YouTube channel or Facebook, it really gives you your own platform. Like, you have this platform about farming, so it could really give you your own platform as well, and that's super valuable to have, because then you can start interview. I tell people a lot too, they should be interviewing people in the community, with technology today, like we're doing now. Where are you in Toronto? Where are you?
Just outside. Yeah. I'm in Niagara region. So just for the rest of the world, most people I just tell people near Toronto. So
Okay. Yeah. So I'm in Philly, and right now we're doing an interview. So like, you might be the local business might be down the street, but if you don't have a camera guy and lighting and all that's complicated, it's super easy to just use Zoom. It's pretty amazing actually how like a lot of podcasts are just done through Zoom now. So, there's just so many benefits to creating content, and you just got to get started somewhere.
Yeah. And I think, like you said earlier about kind of killing two birds with one stone, is when you're out there doing stuff in the community, you're networking with the businesses, you're getting in front of their audience, you're expanding your audience in front of their reach as well. And that's something I teach. I talk about strategy stacking, is when you create content, when you create strategies, the more you can overlap them and help them work together, the better your reach is going to be, the more you're going to be able to connect with people. So maybe you have a newsletter and you do video content, and then you can promote both on both avenues, or you can do local business interviews and then they're promoting it, and then they're also doing an event and you're sponsoring the event. And by tying those strategies together, you're able to reach more people more quickly versus something like just a traditional postcard. It's a one and done. Someone looks at it, throws it in the garbage, and there's nothing else there. So you want to be able to tie it together, and content marketing can absolutely really kind of be the glue that holds some of the other strategies that you do together. And you can, like you said, you can tie it to other things and use that to further promote and create value.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like an icebreaker. It gives you a reason and a purpose to reach out to people that maybe you otherwise wouldn't. Or, like I have a friend now who just started mortgages, and he's always asking me for advice. And he's like, should I cold call? Should I cold email? And it's like, well, you can, but what are you going to say? Like, let's just connect. I want to buy you a drink, or can I pick your brain? Like, no one, if I don't know you, I'm not going to do that. Like, nobody cares about who you are. It's what you can do for them. So you instead say, hey, I'm a new mortgage broker. I have this YouTube channel. I would love to interview for it. That gives you a reason to reach out to people, rather than just like, hey, you got any leads? Hey, can I pick your brain?
Exactly. And you reach a fresh, different audience every time you do that too. So when you interview a new person, you now hopefully tap into their audience, which they have people that you don't have in your audience, and they're going to share it. And one of the things I talk about all the time is that I use the example, when I was single, I would say that the best way to get introduced to someone is to be introduced by someone else. So when you do an interview and you're interviewing someone else, now that person's probably going to share that episode, because just like you're on this episode, you'll probably share it with your audience, and vice versa. You're more likely to be reaching new people that you never reached before. If you're just doing a standalone show or podcast where it's just yourself, you're only selling to your existing audience. When you do interviews and when you do things that are in the community, you're going to be able to reach an audience quicker, and reach more people that you probably would have never reached in the traditional fashion that you were doing before.
Yeah, I mean, it's as we're, I've been doing content marketing for a while, but this kind of just reaffirms why I like doing it so much and how powerful it is,
Yeah, it's impactful, but you have to, like you said, you have to be willing to start. So I want to ask you about podcasts, because I know that's a big part of things that you're a believer in and help promote. That's when I find when agents hear that word, they get scared and run to the hills. Some agents can get behind video, but podcasting, I find, is one of those things that can scare agents to never start, and they don't realize how simple it is to actually get up and running. So can you talk us through what you really need to get started with a podcast?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what we do a lot is, people say content repurposing. I call it content remixing, just because I used to be a DJ and it sounds different. It sounds cool. So content remixing. So, everything starts with video, and a lot of people don't know that any video can be turned into a podcast. All you do is just take the audio from the video and turn it into a podcast. So I always tell people you should really start with video like this. Like, you could use Zoom. You might have to invest in a decent mic or a decent camera, which is not expensive. You might have to get like the pro Zoom account so you can record for more than 40 minutes, but you can really do everything through Zoom. And then what you can just do is you just take the audio from the video, turn that into a podcast, put the video on YouTube. And then to take it another step further is you could take like a 30, 45-second clip. You could do multiple clips from one video, use those for social media, and then say, hey guys, you can watch or listen to this whole video by clicking here and then giving them a link. So everything kind of really starts with video. And then I'm curious, what do you use for your podcast platform? I use Spreaker. What do you use?
I use Anchor.
Okay.
It's cheap, free.
Yeah.
It's good. It's got a good distribution.
Right.
For me, I that's why I love it. And I've had some other people I've talked to about getting involved with it. It's something you can get into that's very simple and easy to set up. There's a lot of great resources out there. And even regardless of what you use, the great thing with the internet nowadays is there's a lot of tools and resources that are so easy. Like you said, like with TikTok videos, it's super easy to create decent videos. You just got to get started with it. It's just getting out there and like you said, the video is a great place to start because you can then multi-purpose that and remix it into different things.
Yeah. So when I in college, when I was interviewing people, most of it was over the phone. Some of it was a little video. It was kind of early video. And then I started my own podcast, and it used to be so much harder. Like,
yes,
you had to host your own files somewhere.
Yeah.
And you had to like pay for this and that, and you had to distribute it yourself. Now with sites like Anchor and Spreaker, with one click of a button, after you set it up, with one click of a button, it'll distribute your podcast to, I guess the biggest ones are Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Those are really the biggest ones. But, with literally one click of a button, you're on every podcast platform. So, you record the video, you take the audio, you always have to give it a title and a description. You always want to put in the show notes, you can promote stuff, you promote your website or whatever. So it's really a lot simpler than people think. So that's basically the essentials are. You might need, like you're using a headset, you could use a headset with a mic. Like I said, Zoom, and then you just need something like an Anchor, or I use Spreaker.com to distribute it. And then from there, you also maybe want some marketing material. That's a big thing too, is, having graphics. Like I know you have graphics and you post stuff. So you want to have some graphics made to promote it, because it is audio, but it's harder to post audio on social media than it is like a photo or video. So like I tell people I can help you with a podcast, but it's really the video side too. So it's kind of like the YouTube side of it and the podcast side, because, content remixing.
Exactly. And I think if you're going to do it, you might as well do both. That's my thought, is like, if you're going to do video, why not take an extra step, turn it into audio? And it's, if you're using something like Zoom, which is what I do, I literally do my video. I download when I edit my video, I just extract the audio, put it in, and it's like an extra 20 minutes, 10 minutes of my day to do that. And now you've got two different platforms, and you'd be amazed at the different people that will connect in different channels. Like some people will love the video, and then some people will love the audio, and you're reaching more people with the same content by remixing it. And you're able to, again, spread how quickly you can connect with people and add value, because you're leveraging what you're doing, which it starts with the video.
Yeah. I think the other thing too, if you want to take it, the next step is, podcast is a different experience than YouTube. So like a podcast could technically be like more of a show than a YouTube. Like you could just put the video on YouTube. Like I do this for clients sometimes, it depends on them, but just put the video on YouTube. But then in the audio, you could have an intro with music and you talking, whether it's just like 5, 10, 20 seconds. You listen to podcasts, you know what I mean? A lot of popular podcasts have like a theme music with the intro. And then you could also have your own commercials on your own podcast too. So like for clients, we'll have them create, we'll create like 3 or 4 commercials for them and kind of rotate them for different episodes. And that's like you said, leveraging. That's another thing you can leverage, is you can promote other people's stuff on your podcast through the community event coming up. So, it just depends how far you really want to take it.
Exactly. That's a great point too, is, and if you're going after local businesses and things in the community, that's a great opportunity to further promote them. They could have their own little commercials that you could be featured in your show. You can charge them or not charge them, or you can work out something where they're promoting you and you're promoting them. And it just, again, it all ties together, and it creates a more cohesive marketing message while connecting and building more relationships. And that's a big value if you do it right. And I can guarantee you, if you look in your community, most people aren't doing a podcast or aren't doing a show like that. You can be the one who's doing it. And a lot of agents will look and say, well, no one's doing it, so it must not be a good thing. And the reality is most agents are terrified to do it. And that's why they're not doing it. It's not that it's not a good thing to do. It's most people are afraid or don't know how, or aren't willing to take that first step. So if you're willing to do that and put yourself out there, there's a ton of opportunity, but you have to be willing to do it.
Yeah, that's why I say that this is only for certain people, people who are really passionate and want to do this kind of stuff, because otherwise, you're not going to do it. I think the other thing too with podcasts is, you know, you have to think about what you're going to make a podcast about, because you're not going to make a podcast about real estate because nobody's going to listen to that.
Exactly.
So like, I hate to keep using wrestling, but I have another great example. There's this guy, he has a huge mortgage company. I think he's licensed in like almost every state. But he hosts a lot of podcasts with different legends. Now he has his own podcast network, so he has like a ton of shows. But what he does is he'll advertise his own mortgage company in his podcast. So that's another thing too, is you have to figure out, you know, it goes back to your shtick or your niche or what you like to do. You know, you got to think about what you would make a podcast about, what you're interested in, what people would listen to. I think that's the big thing too, is they're like, people think, oh, I need to make a real estate podcast. But no, you can make a podcast about your town. You know, you can make a podcast about whatever, but if it's just real estate, you know, nobody's going to listen to that. So that's why you should really think about, you know, what you're interested in and who you could talk to.
Exactly. And thinking to do it in a different way and putting a little bit of a different spin. I have a friend of mine who owns a bakery, and I told her a number of years ago, if it was me, I said I would do a show and interview local businesses and community leaders and do like an eat and chat kind of thing, where she makes something from her bakery. She can send over some pie, some cookies, whatever. And then they have a conversation around having that food, kind of like the Hot Wings show, or it's a Hot Ones show, where you just put something that you do, tie it together, and it's a different way to stand out and add value. And again, you're connecting with more people, creating a bigger audience, and adding value to the people that are going to watch it, which is a big part of it, but you have to be willing to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it really keeps coming back to, is you have to want to do stuff like this or it's not going to work.
So I want to ask you then about the staying power with this kind of stuff, because I find a lot of agents kind of burn out. They go gung-ho up front and they create some content, and then they either run out of ideas or they lose steam because they don't get the results right away. What's your advice for agents who are kind of trying to plan long-term with content creation? Because I know for a lot of agents, it's a struggle.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that's why I tell people it needs to be part of your schedule and your routine, where, you know, pick a time and day like I said, you could probably spend, I mean, granted, you do need someone to probably edit it. Depends on the type of videos you're making. If you're just going to edit yourself with TikTok, it makes it easier, but you do need to have it in your schedule that you're going to record each week. And then that makes it a habit. And then it just kind of becomes automatic. The other thing too, that's why I help people with content. I don't want to say a content calendar, but like a spreadsheet of ideas. You know, like you could be in the shower and an idea pops up in your head. You could be in the car, you know, so like, even if you have the notes, you know, I have an iPhone, I have the notes in my iPhone, I put notes in there all the time. So you can put it in there. So I think like, if you kind of keep thinking about it and actively working on it and not trying to do everything at once, then you don't get burned out and you're just constantly thinking. And like we said before, you're always trying new things out. So as you try new things out, you get more ideas. So when this worked, you're like, oh, cool. Well, A works. So how do I build upon A? You know, you can make a series of videos where you cover the same topic. So I think, you know, it becomes part of your regimen, and just part of your everyday life. You know, you don't have to, you could film whatever you're comfortable filming, but, you know, if you're at the office, something pops into your head, just film it, you know, there's that. And also, if you're going to do an interview show, what I do is, so like, I just launched my podcast. So what I'm doing is I'm getting a bunch of video episodes in the can ahead of time, so that I'm not struggling and stressing out later to get more. So I've done, so I just released the first episode, but I have 5 recorded already. So I kind of stocked up before I released it, because I know it can be a little tough sometimes getting people. So I think it's just a combination of making it part of your schedule, you know, put it in your schedule, jot down some ideas. And the more you do it, the easier it'll become and you won't get burned out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's key. I know I've done 2 shows that I've created, and I did the same thing, where I banked a bunch at the beginning, and that just saves your bacon. It takes the pressure off you of having to run with it. It also gives you time to make sure that everything's working before you go live. And some people jumpstart and then it's like, oh, they forgot this, need to figure this out. And then you're kind of going backtracking. So kind of making sure you have enough going, but don't wait too long. Or I've seen that happens where a lot of agents are waiting for this perfect, everything has to be so perfect before they go live. And it's like, sometimes it's good to just get out there and get started and adapt as you go along.
Yeah, I have a great example of that. So my first episode, I didn't have like a external mic. I used my computer mic, and
Mm,
it was okay. It got the job done. But while I was listening to it, I'm like, I need better mic. So now I have a better mic. So that's why, people understand we're not perfect and they
yep.
understand things, as long as you fix it and change it. But, I think people understand. And it's also free content. So who's going to complain? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Somebody complains, it's like, all right, well, they're a complainer, whatever. But yeah, it's just better to just get started and learn as you go.
Exactly. I want to go back to the point where you're talking about if the inspiration comes to you, because for a lot of agents, they go super structured with their content, which is good to be consistent. But sometimes that off the fly or off the cuff kind of content can be some of the best content. And I think it's important to have a balance of both, especially as there's things that come up that are relevant in this moment, which is cool that you could tap into or leverage. Everyone's doing the Will Smith memes and everything like that right now. That's the cool thing at the moment. You have to be tasteful if you're going to do stuff, but by leveraging some of those trends, you can get additional exposure or interest, if you will, but still maintaining that steady content that you're creating. And I find if you have both, and I'm sure you'd agree that having that both is going to help kind of create consistency and value and increase the chances of getting more people.
Yeah, I think you made a great point. When we do spreadsheets, we kind of will spread it out like different columns. So, real estate column, life column, shtick column, and then, trending column. That you make a great point is, you kind of want to stay on top of trends and make a video about what's going on in the world, because that's what's relevant right now. So, while videos are evergreen for the most part, they're also trendy and trending. So you make a great point is that you want to, make videos about things that are trending and are going on now or relevant. So like, for St. Patrick's Day, last month, you could have made a video about that. Anything that happens major in pop culture like that, if you're a sports fan and your team wins like that. So yeah, I think you should mix that in. And then, I think it depends on how private you are and how personable you are. But, if you're having a great day and you had a huge win or something, make a video about it. If you went to the gym and crushed a personal record, make a video about it. I see a lot of agents, they'll post stuff about their kids and this stuff. If you're comfortable with that, do that too. People like to see that kind of stuff. Like, your platform is your own reality show, and people, like you said, people don't like, agents post all the time, just listed, just sold, which is great. I would mix that in. But if you're a real estate agent, I'm assuming you're buying, you're selling stuff and listing them anyway. Like you don't get points for doing your job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, you want to mix in who you are in your real life, and that'll kind of, people will track to you about the other stuff.
Exactly. I just launched an episode today, the day we're recording this, with Kate Lowe's, and that's what she talked about, is being authentic to yourself and really creating a brand that if you're out in grocery shopping and you're in your track suit, your track pants, you don't care, because you're being authentic to yourself. You're not having to create this alter ego that people can only see when you're doing real estate. And if you're willing to show who you are to the world, you're going to connect and resonate with people, and they're going to connect and resonate with you. You may not connect with everybody, but the people who do connect with you will want to do business with you, will like you, will trust you, and you'll be able to build better relationships by being authentic and showing that to the world.
Yeah, I have a funny story to add to that. So one of the clients I used to work with is Krista Mayshore Coaching, which she's a big real estate coach. She's also an agent herself. So we used to do some marketing stuff for her. And Krista, she doesn't care. She'll say whatever. She puts whatever out there. And, I know it's tough being a woman because they don't want to be on camera without makeup. Their hair has to look right. I get all that. I understand it. But Krista just didn't care. And honestly, the videos, sometimes she'd want to be made up and stuff. But honestly, a lot of times the video of her with no makeup, just being real, will get more likes than anything else. Because I think people just respect that and resonate with it, that, wow, this person's really showing me who they are. They're being transparent or being honest. And then that goes back to the know, like, and trust thing is, wow, if this woman is willing to record this video when she just woke up and be this transparent with me, I would love to do business with her. I'm sure she does great business.
Yeah, exactly. And that really will build the right type of audience that you want. And then you don't have to be anything. You don't have to put on a show. You can just show up, do your job, do it well, and people will want to do business with you. So I want to switch gears before we wrap up and I want to dive into promoting your content, because I find, again, a lot of agents struggle with, they can create the content, they get it out there, but then they don't get any traction. They don't know how to promote it in a tactful way. What are you seeing work with agents as far as going out there and promoting the content they're doing, and how can they get more from what they're doing?
Yeah, so I know, like we talked about social media earlier, how years ago you used to be able to reach more people organically. And, the reason why TikTok is doing so great is because they don't gatekeep as much. They let you organically reach more people. And that's, I don't know why Facebook and Instagram doesn't seem to understand that, or they don't want to budge. But basically, these platforms, they want you to spend money to reach more people. So I know it can be discouraging when you're posting something and it gets 10 views, but you know what? You don't know who's watching. One of those 10 people might call you next week because of your video. So that's the one thing I tell people is don't get discouraged because you don't know who's watching. And, if you're making content with a purpose, you could reuse it as well. So, like if you make a commonly asked question video, you can make it for your website, then you could post it on social media, you could put it in your email newsletter. So, that's the other thing too, is try to repurpose the content as much as you can. But so don't get discouraged. And the other thing is you have to be consistent. And I'm telling you, it works. Like you will be on top of mind with people. People will see your stuff. It might take a couple months to kind of get the ball rolling, but then, like Krista used to talk about all the time, when she first really started doing video, she's in like a smaller town in California. Like she became a local celebrity in her town. People will say, "Hey, I've seen your video. Oh, I know you." And people she didn't even know. And, she would act like she knows them, but she's like, I don't. Her husband would be like, do you know them? And they're like, no, I don't know them. I see my videos. So, you really you have to be consistent, and don't get caught up on the numbers. And if you're enjoying what you're doing and it's fun to you, that stuff doesn't matter anyway. But I think the other thing, there's so many verticals you can promote your stuff, but you need to leverage all them. So you should be sending out emails. If you make a video about a local pizza place, you 100% should be sending an email out to your CRM, hey, watch my video. You can link them to YouTube or your Facebook, whatever. So, so what are really the avenues to promote your videos? There's social media, there's your personal page, your business page, which by the way, I kind of tell people you might as well more so focus on your personal page at this point.
I agree.
Business pages are they're good to have, but the personal pages I think are doing better. The other thing too that are growing, really growing are Facebook groups. So
yes, 100%.
I remember I went to a marketing conference. It was before COVID, so it must have been like 4 or 5 years ago. But back then there was a Facebook rep there giving a presentation, and they were talking about back then how they were purposely pushing Facebook groups more now. So if you see more group activity and more groups popping up, it's by design. It's Facebook. I guess Facebook thinks people will use it more and they'll be more connected in groups. So I personally use groups too. So I would definitely, you want to join groups. I'm in a bunch of networking groups in my area. So, type in your town or your city name and join every single group. You don't want to spam the group. You might want to message the admins and become friends with them and see what the rules are. But you need to be posting in groups. Like groups are a great way. There's offline networking groups and then there's these online ones. And some of these groups have a lot. I'm in a local Philadelphia business group and there's like 5,000 people in there. So, and that goes back to being consistent. So you could post a video in there once a week, once every 2 weeks. So, ways to promote it, your personal social media group, business page, your email. What else? Just, sphere of influence too, make a content, send it to your friends, send it to your clients. There's LinkedIn as well. There's Instagram, there's TikTok. Not all that stuff. I don't know if that'll help you as much locally, but it's, on Instagram, you can use hashtag. TikTok, you can use hashtags. But I feel like those are probably the main avenues. You could spend some money to promote your content too on social media. You can spend $5 a day just to get more views on it. So that's a strategy you could try too.
I want to just quickly mention the Facebook groups too, because I think it's important for a lot of agents to realize that if you do it correctly, especially if you run your own Facebook group, there's a lot of power in running your own Facebook group and being the admin. You can do live videos, which I tell agents all the time. They don't realize that you can do like a Facebook Live from the group. You can use Facebook stories from it. But a big thing that a lot of agents don't realize is that it's the conversations that happen in those groups are organic. It's like you're walking into a party and you're able to chat with people. When you're using a Facebook page, a business page, it's just pushing your message out there. and it's fine, like you said, but it doesn't have the same effect that the other strategies do. And Facebook groups literally have way more clout. They have way more, because Facebook doesn't throttle the groups like they do with pages, and you don't have to pay to have your stuff. So you can really build a solid following. And if we go back to what you mentioned about doing community-based videos and getting to know the restaurants and stuff, when you're sharing those, it's not really spam, because you're not really promoting yourself, you're promoting the community. And most people are going to be okay with you sharing your videos about what's happening in the community, because it's a coming from contribution and not just, hey, I'm in real estate. And if you tried to post a real estate video about how great you are, it's going to get flagged. No one's going to want to see it. No one's going to watch it. But when you're sharing that content in those groups, especially when it's then hyper local, you can join a hyper local group, and that restaurant is in that neighborhood, or that business services that neighborhood. It's more relevant and more impactful to those people because it's lining up with their ideal audience as well.
100%. Yeah, it's all about providing the value. So what you could do is, when you make a video at a local restaurant, you don't want to even mention, so you want to mention it twice. In the beginning, you can say, hey, I'm Zac Shull from Keller Williams, Philadelphia. I'm with blah, blah, blah. And then you could say it again at the end. So you're still getting your stuff in there, but it's not about you. It's about the community. And I think you make a good point with Facebook groups. If there's not a huge group out there, you can make one yourself. A lot of times there are already established ones. So if you don't want to make your own, at least if you join these groups, make sure you're adding value as well. Like post in your group every day, comment on other people's stuff, and then mix in your stuff too. Then you become known in that group. And when someone says, hey, I'm looking for an agent, who do you recommend? People I see it all the time. People, I have a friend who sells insurance. He gets most of his business from Facebook group because he's contributed and put in the effort. And it really doesn't take a lot of time. Most people are already on Facebook all day anyway. So why not add some value to these local groups, and then you'll become known.
Exactly. Yeah. It's super powerful, but you got to be willing to do it. So I think that's the message of the day. You got to be willing, no matter what you're doing, you got to start and do it. So if you were to give our viewers one last piece of advice, if they're looking to get into content marketing or enhance the content marketing they're doing, what advice would you give?
Well, first of all, I just looked at the clock. I can't believe what time it is already. It's like really flown by. This has been awesome. I really appreciate you having me on. I'll have to have you on my show. But so a piece of advice is, like we said before, just get started. You don't even have to release your first couple of videos if you're not comfortable, but you need to at least start making them. So, you can make a couple and you could send it to your significant other, or other agents at your brokerage, or if you have a manager, start making stuff and just kind of slowly showing it to people, and, get some feedback, so you get some advice, because it's definitely an adjustment. It's definitely like a learning process. So like I said, you can make stuff. You don't necessarily have to release it. If you're comfortable with it, then just go ahead and release it. But yeah, you definitely want to just get started. And everything revolves around video. So you could remix a video like 5-10 different ways. You can even, all the time, we'll take a video, we'll get it transcribed and turn it into a blog post. You could take like a quote from your video that you said and turn it into an image for social media. So everything really revolves around video. And like we said, video could be turned into audio as well. So really it comes down to video. And I don't think a lot of people realize that you could simply use Zoom. Like, you're in your house, it looks great, looks like a nice house. So if you have a nice setup, like you could just, you should have a nice setup. You can put your sign in the back or whatever. So, you can use, if you're going to do shorter videos for social media, you can use your cell phone. If you have a marketing person or an assistant and you don't want to film yourself, they can film you with their phone. So yeah, get started with that, and use Zoom for longer form videos. You can really just incorporate video. It can just help you so much. You can, maybe you get asked the same question 100 times. Well, make a video about that. Make an FAQ section on your website, put that video on there, and then you could tell people, hey, if you have, watch these videos, and then if you still have a question, come back and let me know. So there's that too. And then the last part just goes back to what we talk about, is figure out who you are, who your audience is, and what type of content you can make. And then, jot some ideas down, keep adding to it, and then just start making content.
It's great advice. Just got to listen to it and go do it, and you'll see the results. So we always end it with a best book. So what's one book you'd recommend that's had an impact on your life, or you think would have an impact on our viewers' life?
Well, great question. I read off and on. I try to read more on and off. So I'm just trying to think. So I just got this book. It's called the Millionaire's Mindset. The Secret to a Millionaire's Mind is what
Okay.
it's called. I forget the guy's name. He has like a longer name, but it just really, it just kind of, I don't want to say poor versus rich people, but there definitely is a mentality, a successful mentality that certain people have versus other people have.
Yep.
And this book kind of just talks about that. And, this guy was not always a millionaire, and now he's 100 millionaire. And he kind of talks about his journey and just the mindset that you need to have of like stuff we're talking about. Like you just got to do it.
Yep.
Got to be positive. You got to have a good outlook on things. So that's the most recent book. I tend to read more like self-help books like that.
Yep.
But yeah, that kind of book can really, really shift your mindset and how you view things. And I definitely recommend it. I think I have like one chapter left, but I'm loving it.
Awesome. Was it T. Harv Eker?
You got it.
Yeah. Great book. Yeah, I read that a couple.
Oh, you read it?
Yeah, it you got to shift your mindset, and that's the key to it. And that's half of what stops, more than half of what stops us is our mindset. So it's not external forces and things like that. It's what's between our ears that stops us from succeeding. So if you can shift that, you can absolutely see a change in yourself and the business that you do.
Yeah, I think so. With mindset and content creation, you just have to look at it like it's fun and it's exciting. Like you have your own show, you have your own platform, you could do whatever you want. And some people will resonate with it, some won't, but you're making it for the people that will. So, be excited that you get to create, and, exactly. And everything else will fall into place.
Awesome. So how can our viewers check out what you're up to, connect with you, and find out more about what you're doing?
Sure. You can contact my personal social media if you want. It's Zac Shull. I'm ZACSHULL. You can learn more about ConnectMe by going to zacshull.com, ZACSHULL.com. There was no good domains for ConnectMe, so I'm working on that. In the meantime, I figured I'd just buy my name, you know what I mean? Nice. So it's easier. So you could go there and see, how we can help you with produce your content, stuff like that. And then I also just launched my own podcast. It's called Coaches and Content. So it does focus a little bit more on coaches and leadership, but I try to cover stuff that anyone can relate to. So I think anyone would enjoy it. I just launched the first episode. We had a LinkedIn expert, which actually maybe I'll introduce you guys. She might be a good guest.
Yeah, awesome.
She'll write your bio, helps you with your headlines, helps you with your resume, because LinkedIn is definitely important for farming too. I would say a lot of professionals on there.
Yep.
So you could check that out. I interviewed someone about meditation. I'm interviewing someone about Facebook ads, all types of stuff that anyone can relate to. So that's called Coaches and Content. It's on YouTube. It's on podcasts, Spotify, Apple. And that's pretty much it. ZachShull.com is the biggest thing. And I really appreciate you having me on. This is great. Yeah. I can't believe it's already like an hour.
Well, we'll put those in the show notes so people can check that out and find out more what you're up to. So thank you, Zac, for being on the show. I really appreciate you bringing your experience, your expertise, and your passion to our audience. I know they're going to get a lot out of this, and they'll really enjoy this episode.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and it's nice to talk this. When somebody knows what you're talking about and they agree, it makes everything easier.
Yes.
Explain this stuff to someone who has no idea; they just don't get it. So.
Exactly. Awesome. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Thanks. Thanks for checking out today's episode. If you like more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook page and our other social media channels. Looking forward to bringing you more great content like this, and happy farming.